In my efforts to get this here house done, we are moving on to the next step. That's what we're going to be doing here on the Storycraft Society this week. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. My name is Garmin. This is the Storycraft Society, and last week I started kicking my own butt to get this house done. I was having issues getting the motivation to do it, so like I said in last week's video, I encourage all of you to find whatever motivation you need to get your projects finished, and making a YouTube series out of this one was what I needed. The shingles needed done, so that's what I did last week, and I showed everyone my new way of making wood shingles using paper plates. But now it's time to talk about what we're gonna be doing this week. So I need to do the stucco on this building. This isn't a huge, crazy, insanely hard step. Honestly, building foam houses, none of it is insanely crazy hard. It's just the next step. Do the next step, then do the next step. And so what I need to do is get the second floor all stuccoed up. It's not a huge surface area, so this should be relatively quick, but I'm gonna walk you all through the process of what I do step by step inside of this little task and show you how I get that done. So before I could actually start putting the stucco in, I knew that I wanted areas that were broken away that showed something underneath, like the stucco had cracked and pieces of it had fallen off. So the way that I'll be getting that effect is by carving a texture into my foam underneath where the stucco will go. You could make this into a brick texture if you wanted. You could make this into a plank texture, which is what I chose to do. And then what that's going to allow me to do in the future is leave little areas that have broken away of the stucco that will show whatever that texture is down underneath. I really like this because it adds a 3D depth to the buildings and it shows a little bit of age and a little bit of their character. The last thing to talk about before we get started is a materials list. And the cool thing about this particular step is that the materials list is very, very small. So the first thing that obviously we're going to need is a quick setting tile grout. This is my particular favorite one, but you can use any quick setting tile grout that you can get your hands on. The next one is going to be 2 cups. I'm just using these plastic baking cups. I like them because I can wash them out real quick and use them for something else later after the project is finished. But I'm gonna need one of those for mixing up my tile grout mixture, and then I'm going to need the other one for putting water in. The final thing is I'm gonna need some kind of a sculpting tool. I think I got these metal ones out of a paint palette kit, but if you have a metal one or a plastic one, either of those are fine. But that's what we're gonna be using to put our stucco in and get the texture that we want. But that's it. Now it's time to dive into the table and start putting some of this stucco on. And now it's a week later and I'm wearing different clothes. Life. It happens. What I'm going to do now that I want to start doing my stucco is I'm going to tilt my piece up onto one side. I like doing this because it allows gravity to help me instead of working against me. It might not be that much of a difference. It might not, but I would much rather be able to have gravity kind of pull down on the tile grout as I set it into place so that it gives me just a second or two to figure out what I'm doing than to have to apply it and push on it and make sure it sticks. Now, when it comes to mixing this stuff up, I like to use small amounts because small amounts equals less waste. I can always mix up a little bit more if I need to, but I hate to throw away a whole bunch of already activated tile grout that I'm just never going to get to see again. The other thing that I do is, like I said earlier, I'm gonna put water into one cup and I'm gonna put my tile grout into another. The one that I put the tile grout in is gonna be used for mixing, and then the one with water in it, I can just slowly add water as I need to. Now, the goal for me here is to get my consistency to be thicker, not runnier. Runnier creates all kinds of problems. It makes it harder to work with. It gets other places that you aren't intending it to get. Just in general, my rule is I would rather it be too thick than be too runny. The nice thing is if you make it too thick, you can always add a little bit of water later. But also if you make it too runny, you can just add a little bit of tile grout, which is exactly what happened to me here because this time I happened to make it too runny. What actually sucks is I don't know how easy it is to tell on the screen, but I went a little bit too heavy-handed with that last bit of water, and now this is too goopy because it's like pillowy instead of solid. So what I'm gonna need to do is actually add a little bit more tile grout in to dry it out a little bit. So it took a little bit of me adding a little bit of water and then adding a little bit of tile grout and a little bit of water and a little bit of tile grout until I got it to this consistency. But this is what I want. I want it to be as dry as possible while still allowing me to work with it. So if you notice, when I make a mark in it, it holds its shape. I think that that's really the key for where I like my tile grout to be the best. All right, let's get to applying some of this stuff. The actual application of the tile grout is very, very, very easy when you get the mix right. I think the more tile grout that I put onto my buildings, the more I realize that the entire process hinges on the mix being right. I think everything else is super secondary. Another really important tip is to keep your tool as clean as possible. That just allows me to make broader gestures with my tool and know that it's not going to put tile grout in places that it's not supposed to go. I just keep a paper towel nearby and every so often just wipe it off. I mean, that sounds simple, but it's true. It makes it a lot easier. Now I'm gonna take all of the tile grout and as I place it into the piece, I'm gonna pull it towards my timbers. This accomplishes two things. One, it gets it stuck into the crevice where I need it to be, but also it helps to avoid more messes. You're not gonna get as much tile grout up onto your timbers because you're gonna be pulling it up to a certain point, stopping and then moving back into the center. There is no trick here other than to just move slow and be precise. This is one of those things where you will thank yourself that you took the time and were patient with it, that you didn't just rush through the process. There's other things that you can be quick with. This is one of them that you will be happy with yourself, that you took the time to move slow and easy through it and be deliberate with all of your motions. And this works exactly the same for the areas where the stucco will be broken away. I'm just going to do all that I just said, except in my broken away areas, I'm going to leave little patches where the foam below is exposed. And then it's really fun for me. I get to imagine, how did this particular section break away? That's gonna help me so that each time I do one, it's gonna be a little different, that they're all unique. It doesn't look like you're making the exact same broken away texture each time. And all I end up doing is I try to do just 2 or 3 panels on each side. I don't want to do it on every one because then it's going to be too much. 1, 2, or 3 panels that will have a little broken away section on each side, and it will look absolutely eye-captivating once we get the paint on in far later steps. But as simple as that sounds, that's all there is to it. I'm going to repeat this on each side, and once I finish a side, I'm gonna let it dry for 10 or 15 minutes before I move on to the next side, just to be safe. Just repeat that 4 times, and eventually you'll have all sides of your building done. And then I now have this done. I'm gonna let it dry overnight. Again, I feel like that's safer than sorry, and you all know that I've been dragging my feet on this project forever anyway, so giving myself one more night to let it be all the way dry is a good thing in my book. But that's it for this video. We're making progress. We are getting step by step by step closer to getting this thing finished. Hopefully you all are enjoying the ride as much as I'm enjoying the fact that I'm finally getting this building done and that it will be finished by the time we get through these videos. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing that. That super helps the channel out and it costs you absolutely nothing. And if you enjoyed this content, I think that you'll enjoy all of the content that we have on the channel in the past, but also the future content as well. Like this video, leave a comment down below of something that you think that I should do to this building maybe. Just say hello. All of that stuff is awesome to hear. And the number one way that you can help a small YouTube channel out is to share this video with a friend that you think would enjoy it. And for all of you that have done that, I appreciate you so much. I've been watching a channel called Splattercat Gaming a lot recently, and he has this one line that he says, "Thank you for the luxury of your attention." And that really resonates with me for all of you who watch these videos. I really appreciate having the luxury of your attention. So thanks for hanging out with me. And until next week, I'll be seeing you.